Hey everyone, hope you're all doing well. Thank you so much for joining in at MLH Local Hack Day Share this year. I am Aditya, I'm one of the coaches here at MLH. I am currently a third year student here in India pursuing computer science engineering. And for those of you who've interacted with me in the past, you all know I have a special love for .NET and Azure. So that's just a bit about me. Now, I guess we can wait for a couple of minutes while we still have folks joining in. And in the meantime, I would love if you all could introduce yourselves in the chat. I think that would be absolutely amazing. I mean, I remember because this particular session is something, Hello World in a new language is something we did back at Local Hack Day build as well. So I'm really happy to be bringing this experience back to all of you. And while I will get to more of the details just in a sec, we're gonna do two languages this time, not just one. One of them I have tried in the past, one of them I have not. So this is going to be so much fun. And I'm so excited to see the enthusiasm here in the chat. Um, hey everyone. It's so great to see all of you here joining in. And I especially want to thank the folks from India because today is Holi here in India, which is one of the biggest festivals. So a very happy Holi to all of you. And to everyone else, everyone other than India, welcome here. Thank you so much for joining in. Really excited to have you all here. So in the meantime, while of course we still have folks joining, let's go ahead and make sure that we've registered and checked in for this particular session. So if you could all just hop over to hackpack/LHD share with me. What we're gonna do is we're gonna ensure that we complete the registration here. So all you gotta do is go ahead, hackpack/LHD share. As soon as this is done, once we are through with this, we're going to be ready to go. So this is the general local hack day share organizer HQ page. I hope you all registered and checked in here yesterday during the opening ceremony. Once that's done, we just got to scroll down here. This is a slightly long process. I mean, longer than general, but it's not a very difficult process. So we're going to be done through this quickly. So as soon as we've done this, as soon as you've checked in on the regular page, just go ahead to day one check-in. Once you're there, you will see another such page specifically for day one. Now it's very important to go ahead and register and check in here because as mentioned that for those who check in on every single day of local hack day share, we are going to have some bonus stickers in the swag as well. So make sure you do not miss this specific page and you register and check in here as well. As soon as that is done, just a little scrolling and we're going to go here. We've got Hello World in a new language here. That's the session we have right now. So make sure you come to this page and check in. So as soon as you're done, as soon as you're checked in here, you'll be able to click on join event, which will essentially take you back to Twitch. So yeah, it's a nice little loop, gets you back to where we started. So yes, make sure that you're done with this flow. I'm gonna reshare this once if any of you had trouble. Just let me know in the chat. But basically what you gotta do is you gotta hop onto the link I've just shared in the chat here and register on the general local hack day share page, then the day one page, and then hello world in a new language. I have just shared the link here in the chat so you all can check it out. Yes, absolutely. Blahaj gang is really cool. There are so many cool guilds here this time. Do come here, do rep your guilds. That is absolutely amazing to see. And I mean, I personally, Equicode, that's the one. But Blahaj Gang, Melon Squad, all of these are such amazing guilds. It's really amazing to see all the stuff that's happening here this time. Eddie Hub on the top. Yeah, Eddie Hub is great. Awesome. Codex script. Yay. It's so lovely to see folks from different guilds join in here. It's absolutely amazing, and I think guilds have really been the highlight of local hack day throughout the year because we've had so much fun here. We've got CUSAT, we've got Programmers Universal Group, we've got so many amazing communities here. It's freaking amazing. So you're in a guild, but you do not know what Blahaj means. So Blahaj is this shark plushie that you get at IKEA, and it's an absolutely lovely, really cute shark. So that's what it is. If you're not in a guild, you should join in. Absolutely. That's definitely the way to go. If you have not yet joined a guild, go ahead to discord.mlh.io. Find a really cool guild. We've got so many amazing ones here. You know, there's just so many amazing guilds here this time. You can go ahead and join any one that you really like. Seriously though, Equicode, that's the one. But yeah, no, I mean, whatever guild you're comfortable with, whoever you want to join in, make sure you go ahead and join that. Now, I guess we have folks who've joined in, which is amazing to see. If any of you were there at Build last year, we had this really cool thing we did, right? Where we had a repository where we collected all different local hack day hello world tutorials from folks, right? Now we're gonna do something very similar this time, but what I've decided to do is that before we rush to adding more tutorials there, I'm gonna pick tutorials from all these amazing ones that we compiled last time. So if I just go ahead to my GitHub, that's where the repository was. We've got this little repo here. Let me bring this up for you so you know. Here. So if you hop over to this link, you will find a repository with a variety of Hello World tutorials that were contributed by participants from local hack day build. And we're gonna go ahead to the contributions in a bit. But before that, of course, it's very important that we actually begin with our Hello World tutorials, right? So today, what I'm gonna do is I am going to pick two languages that were shared here. One of these I have tried in the past, one I have not. And we're gonna do a little Hello World activity with these. So how does that sound to you? Does that sound exciting? Does that sound fun? Are you all looking forward to this? There is a Hello World tutorial for R if you scroll down just to the bottom of this link. Send link in chat. I am just doing that. Yep, that sounds like a good idea. Here it is. So you should be able to see the link here in the chat as well. All right, so the languages that we're going to cover today. The first one is JavaScript, and the second one is Golang. JavaScript and Golang. Those are the ones we're going to do today. How does that sound to you all? Does that sound cool, fun? Would love to see your excitement here in the chat, folks. Yay, that's what we like to see. That's awesome. Oh, we have a lot of Golang love. Can you pick a different language? Yes, absolutely. You know, if you want to follow along with me and work on these two languages, that's freaking awesome. If you don't, totally cool. You can pick any one of these tutorials, or even if you want to pick a different language, you can go ahead, follow another tutorial, and if it seems cool, you can come and add it here in this repository as well. I will be taking pull requests here. So yeah, so Golang is a server-side language that that was developed by folks over at Google, I believe. I think it's a statically typed compiled programming language that was designed at Google, and it's definitely a very good language. It's been very helpful for a lot of developers. So Golang is definitely a good place to work with because we have been seeing a lot of growth on Golang. It was dedicatedly designed to improve programming productivity, keeping in mind multi-core network systems and large code bases. So yeah, Golang's definitely a good place to go. And I don't believe I would need to introduce folks here to JavaScript, right? JavaScript is the one. Is YAML counted? Yes, why not? If you have a good tutorial, why not? Do go ahead and be sure to share that with us as well. Looks like we have a lot of excitement. Trying with Dart would be good. We have a tutorial on Dart and Flutter as well, so you can always pick that if you would like that. Someone was thinking about writing Hello World in Minecraft. Oh, Interesting. That would be fun to see. So once again, I'm going to be doing JavaScript and Golang here on stream. But if you have already worked with a specific language, if you've followed a tutorial already, or if you would like to work with another one from this entire list, or just follow along with me, all of those options are totally all right. We're gonna follow those accordingly. How does that sound? I think that should be cool, right? So let's start with JavaScript first. Let me just bring my screen back up again. Sorry about that. But I'm going to be doing this here in VS Code. So I'm just going to take my screen and share my desktop once. Also in the middle, I might miss out a little bit of the activity on the chats here. So I'll keep coming back every once in a while to view what's happening here, all right? Emoji code. Emoji code's a legit language. The only trouble is that I tried setting that up on my system, but I had some trouble last night, so I can't take a risk there. All right, I think my screen's back up again. So let's begin. Now what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna create a directory first. I'm just gonna call it JavaScript right now, but even if you want to call it something else, that's totally all right. I'm just going to call it JavaScript. I think this should be a bit visible a little better. Oops. So mkdir, that's just a bash shell command. What that does is it creates a new directory for us. Now ls lists all the items here. So if you can see, we have a folder JavaScript that's been created because of this command. Now let's go into this folder JavaScript. That took us to the JavaScript folder. Okay, I think let me just take this banner down for the time being. Yes, we will be making a repo and sharing it on this dev post. I will take you through that flow once we're through with this. So yeah, we're gonna get to that as well. That sounds like a good idea. That's definitely a cool idea. I have the Golang compiler installed, but if you want to go ahead with REPL, that's totally cool. You can write your code that right there, and then after that, just push the code file to GitHub. That's totally cool. And for JS, you do not actually need to install something. We're not working with Node right now. We're just working with JavaScript. So it's all, your browser's good enough on that end. So now that we're in the JavaScript folder, I'm going to use this really nifty little command, code dot. What this is going to do is it's going to open my directory in VS Code. And I know we all love VS Code. So what I thought is that, I mean, of course, we can go with a basic print command in JavaScript in the console in the browser. Like, you know, for example, if I go ahead here, I just go to F12. I mean, this is always one way to start with it. If I just go ahead and add console.log, wow, it gives me the entire command. Now, this is a command that just prints a statement. This was always a way to go. And this is one of the quickest ways to do hello world. But we're going to do something a little more fun than this. So, you know, if you do this much, if you just add console.log hello world in your browser console, that will give you hello world, because the console here that does that essentially allows you to run JavaScript code. But what we're going to do for this activity, we're going to create a little HTML web page and have a JavaScript script in there. So just stepping it up a little bit for all our fun friendos here in the chat. That's what we're going to do. And before we jump to it, I'll mention that while I have been playing around a little bit with different stuff, I am not a JavaScript expert at all. So let me just create an index.html first. And, you know, we've got a lot of stuff here that we can do. We can, you know, just, that's where VS Code makes life so much easier. All you got to do is you just need to add mention HTML5, and it's an abbreviation. It'll add all of this, all the header content here, the metadata here for you. So I'm just going to change the title here. I'm going to make it LHD share hello world. Let's keep it at that for the time being. And I mean, of course, in HTML, if you want to add, we can add a lot of different elements. We can add some headings. We can add general paragraphs. Let's just add a heading for the time being first. Hello world in a new language. Oops, mind my slight errors. And as soon, we've got this heading here, we're going to add a little script here. Now, in order to add JavaScript scripts here directly in an HTML file, what we do is we've got the script abbreviation. Within these particular tags, if you add any JavaScript code, it will run that for you. So I'm just going to add an alert here, and I'm going to add a message here, hello world. So what this does is that if I run this here right now, let's just open with the live server. So as soon as I run this, it says hello world. It shows me a little alert, and it mentions my IP address here because that's essentially the server where this is hosted. It's a local server and it's a live server. So that's the alert. It gives me a hello world alert, and then I've got my heading here. So I mean, that's of course the most basic version of this, but I think we want to step it up a bit, right? Ooh, we're having a chunk of fun here in the chat. Yeah, that's definitely a great place to try it out. That's definitely a way to go. Cool kids. Why not code in binary? If you can do that, man, be my guest. I can't get that done, to be honest. I'm not that good. Someone's been following some of these streams here. We're gonna have something around .NET in another one of the streams soon as well. The command once again, yeah. So I mean, I just created an index.html file, and after that, in order to create the metadata and all the head and the basic stuff, what you can do is you can just for this you just need to add HTML:5. That's basically what you add, and VS Code detects that, and it'll give you the entire template there. Yeah, that's the boilerplate. So while we get to the dev course later, we're gonna be adding this all the work we do right now to a GitHub repository, and we're gonna share that there. Yeah, we do not have a special check-in code here, unfortunately. I know that might have been something that some folks expected, but we don't right now. But if you want one, you should definitely stay tuned to the different leaderboard updates. You might just get surprises there. Thanks, Ziraj. Happy Holi. So we had a little alert there, but I might wanna add some hello world stuff to my code here as well, right? I think that would be a fun way to go, wouldn't it? So of course, while we've got this little script here, we can always do one thing. We can have a little paragraph that also says hello world. But we're gonna do one thing. We're gonna manipulate this taking a user input, and this is gonna have a little more JavaScript here. But what the hell, we can always try a little more and push ourselves a little more, right? So we're gonna take a user input. Now here, what I'm just gonna do is I am gonna take this as let's name this as hello. Actually, you know what? We'll keep the text out of here. We're gonna use something that is we're gonna play around with our document here a bit. So now for someone who's already had some exposure to web development, you might have heard of something called DOM. Now DOM is it's called document object model. What this essentially allows you to do is it represents a document with a logical tree. So basically, you can manipulate HTML content using a JavaScript because of the DOM. That's the most simple description of what it is, because so whenever a web page is loaded, the browser creates a document object model of the page. With JavaScript, we can manipulate that. So we're gonna do something very basic, and we're gonna play around with that paragraph and add some content on in our web page here. Meantime, let me just check the chat here once. Back to our page. So how do you open a local page on your machine? So if it's just an HTML file, there's no building required. So you can just open it in your default browser, even if you go here. Oops, sorry, wrong directory. Another wrong directory. Sorry about that. I have a lot of stuff here on my system right now. Yeah, that was the folder. So even if you just open this in Chrome, for example, a general HTML file is just going to open normally. That's not a problem. That's not something you need to worry about. But if you wanna if you have some other code that you want to deploy or something, then another thing that you can do in VS Code, you can just open with live server. That's what I had done last time. Oops, I think it's opening to a different window. So yeah, sorry. If you just open with live server, that's what it'll do for you. So I mean, one thing we're gonna go do is, within DOM, we have, when we're working with JavaScript, we have a variety of ways to manipulate. We have different commands here. Now, if we want to manipulate the HTML here, let's check out what W3 Schools has for us, because I know for a fact there's definitely a command, there's definitely a method by which we can manipulate the HTML tags here, the elements here. Wow, people are really excited about DOM. Nice. So much excitement for DOM. I did not realize there was folks were this excited by DOM. All right, so we're back at the methods here for the DOM methods. Now, this is exactly the command I wanted to get into, because this is the command that we're going to be playing around with right now. So let's go back here. Let's go back to VS Code. And in this script, what we're going to do is we're going to add document. What this does is that, this is going to call this entire web page that we have. And we're going to get, I hope I'm so sorry. See, exactly, I'm new to these things as well. Yes, get element by ID. I'm always confused. So, we're just going to go get element by ID. This is why I stated an ID here for this little paragraph, because what we're going to do is, sorry, it's string. So we're just going to add hello here. Dot inner HTML. Dot inner HTML, this is going to allow us to edit the HTML here. If we had to work with the attributes, that would have been a different way altogether, but we have to work with the HTML here first. So we're going to set it as hello LHD. Oh, that sounds like a good place to start. Let's see if we followed the way correctly. I hope we have. Now let's try opening this once again. Oops, something went wrong there and I have no idea what happened. Let's see, let's try something else here. This might fix it. This is something I have heard from a few folks. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what I did. So this is some trouble that I had heard of earlier. I mean, I have seen some folks add the scripts in the beginning and still get it running, and then I've heard of these issues. I'm very new to the world of web development, so thanks a lot for that little tip. But yeah, so as soon as we did that, we saw that our element here, it essentially loaded this particular string in the HTML for the paragraph that we have here. Now, I think what I want to do is I want to get a little more ambitious here with JavaScript. I want to ask the name of the user from in the browser itself. And okay, if you have some trouble zooming in, I hope that looks better. Use a semicolon. Yeah, good practice there. So this time what we're gonna do is we're gonna do something a little more ambitious. We're gonna take a prompt from our user and we're gonna load that in this paragraph. So let's just see, we're taking the user's name, so we can just go ahead and add that name. I know some folks do recommend going with let, where and let. You can go with either, that is not necessarily a problem. As soon as you've got that going, we're just gonna add prompt. Now prompt is a function that we have that allows us with this basically the browser will prompt the user to add some information. So for the message we just have a little message that we can keep. What is your name? Right. And here we're just gonna change that and we're gonna add name here. I think I might have forgotten to mention. So we've got a variety of extensions here in VS Code and Live Server. Okay, I have a chunk of extensions. Yes, Live Server is an extension that we tend to have. You can download it here from the marketplace. Sorry about that, I missed that one. I forgot that the extension may not. I mean, this is something that I've installed at the very beginning, and a lot of people do. But yeah, if you don't have it already, you can download it from the extensions here. So let's see if this works for us, and I really hope it does, because if it doesn't, that's gonna be difficult. 1 second. I think I'm in the wrong window because that's exactly where I'm having a little bit of trouble. I've got a few different windows running here, so let me just go back. Sorry about that. Open with the live server. Yeah. So I'm gonna add my name Aditya, and it says hello Aditya. See, we took the user's name and it's added that there. So that's what prompt does for us. Prompt basically allows us to input some information up there, up top. Now, if you had seen this former window that I had open, it basically mentions null because this had already been running at the point of time when I made the change. So since it had never taken an input and it was already at a point where the page had been created, it just filled it as null as there was no input. But if I'd load it here, it just asked me for the input and it loaded like this. Had I not entered something, it would have essentially given me an empty string. So that's essentially how that would work for us. I think that sounds interesting. All right. If you're familiar with HTML, JavaScript, and DOM, that's awesome. You're probably far ahead, even compared to me. That's amazing to see. Definitely. So in the tutorial, we've got a variety of different languages that we've got. I'll share this link once again if you're already done with JavaScript in the past. There's Typescript, of course, that's a great place to go. And yeah, apart from that, we've got a chunk of lessons here as well. So you can always check out the GitHub I've shared and you can pick a little tutorial from there. And of course, if you would like to continue along with JavaScript, that's totally cool. C#, C# is love. And you know what? We actually did C# at local active build in the Hello World session, which was so much fun. I've actually got a little website ready for that as well, because that's a tutorial that I created for C# specifically. So if you want to go ahead with C#, I'd created a little lesson here. Please ignore the check-in and you can begin with the tutorial. I'll just send this link in the chat as well if you want to do C#. Because like C# is like one of my favorite languages. So, you can check out this lesson here. It's got a C# tutorial. There's more on .NET. It talks about that. And you can basically create a .NET console application here for the very first time. So, it's going to take you through this entire little process of how you can do that. And do not submit on this dev post. This was the older dev post. This was for local ACD build. But we're going to have to change that link. This GitHub repo is connected to the older version. I have a different repository for that now. But like if you just want to follow the steps, that's a good place to start. So yeah, I mean, we've got a chunk of lessons here and I've just put in the link, thrown it in there as well. Now, I guess we did a bit of JavaScript. We had a little fun with that. It was interesting, definitely. I think I'm going to work more with JavaScript in the future. But JavaScript is something I had tried my hand at already. So now it's time to try something that I have never worked with in the past. And for that, I have picked Golang for this session. So I remember when we had this whole little thing where, folks contributed their GitHub IDs, someone added a Golang tutorial. And I'm going to follow this to try my hand at Golang for the very first time. What's the current dev post? I'm going to add the current dev post in a bit. Definitely going to do that. So Golang here is another great server-side language. We've got a chunk of information here on Go as well. It's a procedural programming language. It was developed at Google, and it's been gaining so much of traction lately that I thought we should definitely go ahead and try our hand at Golang. Now, someone here mentioned this lovely idea of going ahead to REPL. Just to let you all know, REPL has actually changed their domain now. It's now called Replit, and the link for that is replit.com. So if you want to go ahead and work with Replit, that's always a good place to go. If you want to get signed up there, cool. I have the Go compiler installed on my system, so that's what I'm going to be working with. So if you want to download the Go compiler, please go ahead, do that. That's going to be a good place to go. You can actually try Go here as well. That sounds like a lot of fun. And of course, if you want to download Go, sure, be my guest. That's exactly what I've done. I mean, I recommend that if you plan to work on Go a little more. So, you can just directly download the binary here. I mean, I use Windows, so I would download the Windows binary. If you use any other operating system, that's a good idea as well. And I've already got Go downloaded on my system. In case you haven't, this actually mentions the steps of going through the download as well. So if you just go install Go, in order to check whether it's running or not, what you got to do is, let's just clear this up. I hope clears the command. Yeah, that's the one. So once you've installed Go, you can just add Go, run the command Go version. If this gives you a version, that means your Go version, your Go compiler is installed successfully. So, once that's done, we're going to go ahead, we're going to create a directory for Go as well. Just like we had our JavaScript directory there. So let's go back to the tutorial here, because this is again something that I have never tried myself. So what I am going to do is I am going to create a Go file here for our use. And I'm going to follow along with this tutorial. So it's going to be fun, definitely. So, oops. I'm going to create a new file here called hello.co. That is just it's a bash command that allows us to create files. Okay. Wait, what? What just happened here? I am so sorry about that. I've created the Go folder in the JavaScript folder. I'm just gonna 1 second. I'm gonna shift that to my desktop because I didn't want that in the JavaScript folder. But yeah, happens. Let's just open this in VS Code directly. I guess that's a little more convenient for all of us. So I'm just gonna create a file hello.go. As you see, VS Code has already listed that. And since I did not have this extension installed, it recommends that I should interest. So I'm just going to install the extension here for Go. No. This is exactly why I love VS Code. It makes life for developers so easy, to be honest. It's always great to learn while streaming because I think what it allows me to share is that we're not all experts in every different technology, right? We're all learning, we're all trying to we experiment, we're trying to grow, right? And I know for a fact that all of us, we do not remember these languages by heart. We will need to go ahead, look at the documentation. So why not take that in our stride and learn along with everyone? That's always a good thing, right? So we've got little our Go extension ready. And this has just a bit of information here. If you want to go learn the Go programming language, it has a link for that as well. But for now, we're just gonna hop over back to our file and we're gonna check out the tutorial along with that because I really don't know what I'm gonna how this is gonna go ahead. So I guess the first thing we gotta do is add the main package to the program. It's gotta, every program has got to start with the package declaration. And of course, as other languages in Go as well, packages are used to organize and reuse code. So let's go ahead. Let's add this little package here for us. I do have a feeling that package main may have been specifically keeping the main Go file, and we're gonna check this out as we go ahead as well. If I've made this sort of an error, because there is a chance I have. Oh, thank you so much. I love you all as well. Yeah, absolutely. If you keep practicing it, that's always gonna happen. But this is a totally new language for me, so I have to be honest with myself and refer to these guides, right? It's always important to be honest with yourself when you're learning and you're growing and you're building. So I'm gonna get back to this, and I hope I haven't gone wrong here. There's a chance that I have. Now, as soon as we're done with this, the next thing we gotta do here is, okay, this might just be the package declaration, so it probably just be Go. So if you would have seen when I was adding the package, it mentioned it recommended Go already because that's the directory we have. So we're just gonna go ahead with package Go. Now the next thing we had was adding an import statement, right? And the library that we had to import was the Fmt library. Now the Fmt package here, the package here is used to implement formatted input output with functions, and it comes pre-installed when you install the Go compiler or interpreter. I believe that's also something we're going to look at. Yeah, the compiler. So it's only when we import Fmt that we can actually output any code here. So we've got to import the Fmt package, and the way to do that is just we write import, open our curly braces, and add Fmt here in these double quotes. It's important to keep these double quotes here. I'm sure without those it's not gonna run. So when we're now ready, we've got our program set up to run. Now all that we're gonna do is we've got to write the code we have to create the function, write the code to print our hello world line, right? So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna create a function here. VS Code efficient, it does that so quickly for us. This is exactly why we all love Visual Studio Code, and it's such a lovely tool. Now, as soon as that's done, we're just gonna add a line here, and I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna check whether I wrote the syntax all correctly. But I'm gonna write hello world, and I hope I've gone all right and the right way about this. So yeah, exactly. So if you see, we had this little function here. What this function does is it allows me to print this line of code. Oh, I did not realize it does not need semicolons. But I mean, that's just a habit, to be honest. And I see I've made a little mistake there as well. This should have been a smaller L. So you see, that's the basic that's your hello world program. Now we're gonna run it, and we're gonna run it using the command line. So in order to do that, in order to run it in the command line, we can access our lovely little terminal here directly through VS Code, and we're gonna write the command go run hello.go. Oops, I seem to have gone wrong somewhere. Now, if correct this tells me that I've gone wrong in line 8. I am not sure where I've got my curly braces on. I hope it was just comma. This is definitely interesting. We're debugging on the fly here, folks. That's what we're doing right now. And you know, it's great to have these problems here just when you're starting off with any language. It's always a good experience. It will help you learn so much. So let me see where we've gone wrong. Let me just try copying this line for a change, maybe. Oops, seems like I've gone. That's definitely interesting. Let me just go back and try. Let's see, import where there's trouble. So I'm getting some trouble here when importing. It shows I can import without that. So let me try importing without these braces, because this is where I seem to be getting some trouble. So let's run this now. Hope for the best. Yeah, finally it runs. So the curly braces that they were creating some trouble. I guess this might have been created, this tutorial may have been for an older version of Go maybe, and there's some trouble here in the newer versions. But Hello World works. Finally it does. Yay. That might have been a good thing to try as well. I think that's definitely something I'm gonna check out later. But you know, I mean, this is exactly the learning process, right? We make these mistakes while learning, and that's very important. And I will tell you something, I'm not afraid to make these mistakes here on the screen. So please never ever feel afraid when you're trying out a new language, because in all honesty, whenever you go ahead and you try a new language, you're always going to end up in some or the other trouble. That's something that is bound to happen. So should we try a little more of Golang and see how we can build a little further with Golang? You know, in order to do that, what we can do is we can always open the Golang documentation and the link that was actually mentioned to us in that extension there. So if we go ahead to learn go.dev, we have this lovely documentation here available for all of us to learn. It's going to introduce us, and we've actually got a little playground where you can directly run Go code here in the browser directly. So all great places to learn, you know. And I'm going to share this link here in our chat as well. Melon Yellow, wow, I mean, we've got some excitement. You know, we need more excitement like Melon Yellow. Dreamy Moon, if you want to check out a Hello World program in Kotlin, as I mentioned with our GitHub repo that we have here, we've actually got a Hello World tutorial there for Kotlin as well. we might actually have a couple. Yeah, so we've got a couple of tutorials there for Kotlin, so you can check those out. So if you've got the same error that I did earlier, what you're gonna do is you should remove the curly braces here, just keep it as import fmt, and that should work all right. So now that we've got a little bit of Go, we can always check out our documentation here. Now, of course, this is the documentation to install. At the same time, we've got a tour of Go, which is going to have a bit of a tutorial, I'm sure, which teaches us how to get started with Go. As you can see, we've got a few pages and we've got some lessons here. So, always a good place to start. Yeah, that's just a tour of how you can use the platform. Okay, so that's definitely an interesting command, and we can check it out and see if that works. I believe this will give us a system. Oops, that's an interesting date. Yeah, exactly. It was supposed to be round braces. So nice, interesting. Let's see. Let's try this another function out here, the time function. And whoever mentioned the round braces, you were totally correct. That's exactly what is supposed to be done. So I'm just gonna add time here in the same format. We're gonna try out the time library. So let's just print out another little statement here. The time now is. I have to check out these commands because I'm so new to this. Oh, okay. It is a comma. What they should do is they should give us the time right now. Let me just clear this up. Now, I believe you might have seen that earlier when I was trying to play around with the bash shell, I used the clear command, but I mentioned CLS here because right now we're running the command prompt of Windows. And of course, we can use different shells. But for this one, that's exactly why I use the CLS command. For the folks who are mentioning how to submit the challenges, I'm going to get to that closer to the end of the language and the session. So that's exactly where we're going to check it out, because the way we're going, I believe we might just have time for another language. So for the next one, we're going to have you folks select the language. See, so that's how it works. We've got the time package there, and we can check out the time right now. And this gives us the exact system time here that is mentioned. So great, fun stuff. So that's a very basic little hello world activity here with Go. And once that's done, there's so many other lessons that you can check out. There are some math functions that we can look at as well. But we've got folks mentioning different esoteric languages, and we've got folks mentioning whether we can go TypeScript. So I'll tell you what, let's do one thing. Let's check out some TypeScript first, and then we will try an esoteric language. Let's do some quick stuff. And I'm so happy we've got a TypeScript lesson here as well in this specific repository. So we can definitely check out TypeScript. So TypeScript is a language that I have never tried out in the past. So if I'm trying it for the first time, I'm just going to make a little console application here, just to see how it works, to be honest. But I think this looks interesting. So we can definitely do a little hello world with TypeScript. And oh, we have so many folks getting so accurate. I was thinking of actually, when I looked up esoteric languages, you've got so much excitement for esoteric languages right now. I had thought of trying out lol code. That might be the one we go with. but I'm not sure if I don't have the interpreter for that setup yet. So if someone can find me an online interpreter for lol code, that's gonna be a lot of fun. To.run, what is that? This has existing. Oh, nice. That's a lot of stuff. Oh, we can also do Java here. That's a great idea. If you want Java, I can do Java as well. I think some folks were mentioning Java, so we can definitely do something on Java. We can try out so many languages. Um, it's just awesome the amount of stuff we can do. And we do have lol code here. Wow, nice. Lol code looks insane. I have no idea how I'm gonna go through that. TypeScript, however, we can definitely try out. So, TypeScript, of course, is something that, again, I believe anyone who's into web development, anyone who's working with Angular is definitely working with TypeScript. And then, of course, there are so many other folks as well. So TypeScript is another exciting language. It's a typed superset of JavaScript, and it does end up compiling into plain JavaScript, but it's a great language of its own. So let's install TypeScript for us, or even if we can't, let's see if I can find an online compiler here. I might be able to for TypeScript specifically. I hope I can. I have no idea if I will be able to though. Let's see. Actually, you know what? Let's just type TypeScript online. Oh, REPL has support. We have a TypeScript playground anyway. So yeah, now we can definitely try out a little bit of TypeScript here. Nice. This has already given us a hello world example. But we're not gonna try. We're gonna make it on our own. So I'm just gonna remove that. Let's check out this lesson that we had open with us. So, of course, the message that we have here is hello world for us. And the way I saw it in the tutorial, it mentioned now, I'm guessing what this is doing is, while I am denoting my variable name here, this is basically the data type. And I'm just saving hello world here. I believe that's how they create a variable in TypeScript. That's according to the tutorial here on the VS Code platform. I'm guessing if we had to create a number, it would probably provide me similar. That's a lot of options. I guess we would just end up using. How exactly do we create an integer here? TypeScript definitely seems interesting. So because I have no idea, let's jump here to the documentation and check out what we're doing. Wow, we have a nice little tutorial here on TypeScript. That is definitely very cool. And oh, there's actually tutorials here. There's TypeScript for Java or C#. There's so much support here. This is exactly why I recommend everyone to check out documentation if you're stuck. And in all honesty, if you're stuck here with any aspect, documentation is the first place to jump to. We have a lot of support here for strings. Let's see how we can work with numbers. Okay, we can just add a number, I guess. So we'll just write let num. That works. Nice. So let's print this message here first. We end up using the console.log command here once again. But let's also try one thing where we're gonna print the number as well, right? So console.log. So let's see if this runs for us. And yeah, it does. Great, awesome. That was a basic for TypeScript. I did not realize that would be that quick, but it's essentially a superset for JavaScript. So it ends up compiling into JavaScript at the end of the day. and that definitely makes it a great option. I remember there was some JavaScript experts that did mention that once you've got a chunk of experience, it's always good to start working with TypeScript. So great language to work with, and definitely recommend some of you to check it out. We've got the tutorial here for VS Code specifically here in the repository as well. So you can go back to it at any point of time that you might like. Now we're gonna try something we're gonna try an esoteric language. So I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna do this. We're gonna just go ahead and try an esoteric programming language, lol code. That's definitely a great tool. The only reason I was checking out the other TypeScript editor is because from what I see here, uh, this is dedicatedly designed to run as many different languages as possible. It's just the experience that I also wanted to focus on. So yeah, while this definitely has a chunk of languages, I just wanted to also focus and make it a more visually appealing experience there. But I mean, I'm not to say that this doesn't have that. We can definitely try this out and see how this works out. So for lol code, let's do one thing. I'm gonna bring this back here. Oops. I wanted to go with separate windows here. Essentially, that's what I wanted to do. So what I'm guessing here is that high 1.2, this basically opens the code here for me. I'm gonna deep dive into how exactly this is doing what it's doing. But from what I believe, it uses Python at the backend. It also has CMake. So that's essentially how it works. This is a very weird piece of code, but that's exactly what esoteric languages are. They're essentially Turing complete, but they're designed to push the boundaries of how you're working. So I am trying this, but I have no idea what is happening here, to be honest. But I mean, this is the recommended Hello World code, so why not? Let's go ahead. Let's try this and see what happens. So if I run this, we have our output. It runs. Yay. Now let's see and check out and try what exactly it intended to do here. We've got a massive little documentation. Since lol code here is fully open source, so it has notes on formatting, on commenting, variables, types. There's a chunk of information here that you can check out, all of you, at least if you're interested in lol code. And definitely, if you like working and creating your own compilers and interpreters, you should definitely check out esoteric languages because they're designed to push the boundaries of programming essentially. So when we created our code here, the hello world code, we used the visible command here. This is basically used to this is used to print. Sorry, what's happening with me? It's used to print. And we've got another similar command, gimme, which is used to take input for a variable. And if you want to create a variable, wow. In all honesty, I don't get how this is gonna work. I won't be able to go a little farther beyond this because esoteric languages. But we're getting so much excitement. There's a cow language or a moo language that has been mentioned once in a while. Let's see. Let's check that out as well. Wow, a cow language is. Oh no way! I know what this is. I'm not gonna be able to survive this. Someone actually asked how. Wow. I have no idea whether someone actually tried it Oh, we do have hello world in many languages. Yeah, I'm not gonna jump to that immediately, otherwise we'll stop working together. But yeah, the cow language I am aware of. I've just realized, and this is gonna be crazy. This is gonna blow our minds, and just we're gonna go insane working on this. So I'm definitely not going for this channel. I'm challenge. I give up there. It's just Moo. It seems like it's just Moo, but it is so much beyond. I don't get how I'm gonna understand what's happening here, to be honest. Yeah, there's so much happening here. I think some folks mentioned they wanted a little tutorial on how JavaScript. Hmm. Sorry, on Java, a little hello world with Java. That's definitely something I can do, because Java is the language I used to work with a lot. I mean, core Java I've definitely worked a chunk with. If I have to practice a bit of competitive programming, although that's definitely not something I enjoy much, but if I have to practice, I typically work with Java. So yeah, we can do a bit of Java definitely. And I'm gonna do this. Just gonna keep it closed here. So this is another little online compiler that I like to use. It's called Jdoodle. I think the most convenient feature about Jdoodle is that, while you have an online compiler available, even if you want to actually use these compilers as an API, you can do that. So this is a platform that I've actually used in a separate use case as well. And I'm just gonna do a little hello world code here. So typically, if you would have seen when we start Java programs, we start with import java.lang.star or another package like this. Java.lang basically is one of the default packages here that comes in with Java. It has the basics, essentials, and I want to actually check out the Java docs here, and I want to show you how it's explained there. So if you check out the Oracle documentation, this essentially has all the classes that are really fundamental to Java. So anything for your data types, the packages, basic math functions, compiler related stuff. This is the system classes. This is what the most essential, and this is actually not a command you're gonna have to always add, because it is preloaded by the compiler by default. This is one of the default imports that is there anyway. So we don't need to necessarily add this. So let's just create a class here. In Java, we do end up needing to make classes. I'm just gonna write main here. With the Jdoodle compiler, you don't always need to add the main name specifically. That's just a habit that I have, because if for your main class is essentially the one where you want to start your program from. So that's just my little practice. After this, we've got to create a little function here. I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess this should be a little more visible. Got it. Um, so we're gonna create a little function here, and I'm gonna get into the entire statement that I've got here as soon as I've written this. The main function, definitely, we need to have main there, even if we do not have it in the class. Class is not compulsory, but when you're starting a function here, if you want to run the code in class, you need the main specified here. So basically, if you look at this statement, this is essentially what this is the function prototype for our function. Now, public here denotes that this is accessible to all. It's a public function. You can have private and protected functions as well. In this case, since we're not, since this is definitely not being inherited by another class or by any other users, it's totally all right. Public works here for us. Now, what static does is, with a static function, it basically means that this instance of the function will run for all different objects of the class. So you do not need to. This is not going to be called by an object. You can just directly run this. A static function can call another function, and whatever information you have, it's not going to change for each object. So this is actually a little essential of object-oriented programming here with Java, because when you look at static in Java, when you search that, you're gonna find that it indicates that it belongs to the type itself rather than an instance of the type. So the same value is shared across all instances or all objects. So again, little code here, we're just gonna do a little hello world. And I promise after we are done with this one, I am going to take you to GitHub and I'm gonna take this code up there. So I think this is exactly why a lot of folks are not big Java fans, because of these long statements. But this is actually a great thing that Java has, because it lets you control so much more of your code. And this is actually a perspective I learned from another one of my fellow coaches, Kunal Kushwaha. He's done some fantastic work with Java, a lot more than me, definitely. So he's always a great resource there to learn from, and a great person to learn from. So, once you just add hello world here, semicolon, definitely very important. We can just execute this code. And yeah, hello world works for us. At the same time, if we need any variables, just 19 num equal to 23, string name equal to Aditya, we can have just another maybe line, another print statement here for us. And typing, sorry about that. This is actually I consider 23 my lucky number, so I'm just going to show another print statement, and I'm going to explain that just after. So as I type this line, what happens here is that in this specific line, basically I've put my variable there. In Java, at least when when you're printing or whenever you're working with strings, you basically just need to add the variable name. Plus is the command, and after that you can start. Plus is the operator, sorry, and after that you can start the rest of the string and then plus. So instead of using commas, we end up working with the plus operator here. If you want to get into taking input, we can definitely do a little bit of stuff there. I can show how to take input here. So for that, now with Java, there are two ways. One is using the scanner class, which is available in Java.util package, and the other is to work with buffer reader, which is available in the IO class. Now I'm just gonna try out. I'm gonna work with scanner here. In this case, it's a little shorter. So I'm just gonna initialize the scanner class using the sc variable name, and scanner here is the class. So we're essentially creating an object of this class, and what we're doing is when we initialize this object, we're sending system.in here as our parameter. So once we have this, we can definitely ask we can take in we can take inputs using the scanner class now. So yeah, buffer data is definitely another way to work with if you want to take inputs. And buffer data I used to use a lot more earlier. It's just right now, since scanner is a little shorter, I'm just going ahead with scanner. So instead of taking the name here from the person, I'm just going to take this as an input. So if I want to add system.out.print. Now, in this case, I just added print here because the difference between print and println is that when you add println, it'll automatically add a new line after the string. It'll take the cursor to the control to the next line. But with print, it doesn't do that. So I am just gonna add my little code here. I'm just gonna ask, what is your name? I'm gonna add name is equal to next line. So what this does is basically this little line here, it's gonna take the entire next line that is available, and it's gonna add that take that input as from my inputs here. I mean, I can add those in the standard inputs, and the best part about Jdoodle, at least, it has an interactive compiler here as well, so I can actually just try working with that. So in case I add my input as Aditya here, whatever next line the scanner finds in my inputs, it's gonna add and load that. But we're gonna do that, we're gonna run it in an interactive manner as well. See, so it took my input there automatically. Now if I go interactive, for example, this is exactly the experience of the compiler that you're gonna have. So if I add my name Aditya here, it takes it to the new line. runs the exact same thing essentially. Whereas if when I go with the standard inputs, it basically just automatically considers the text I entered there. So that's a basic hello world tutorial for Java. Now I know some of you have been asking about how to go ahead with the submission. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Let me just take this to another little folder there. I'm gonna create a little folder here called Java. Probably guessed considering how we've gone about the other languages definitely. And within this, I'm just gonna create a text file first. Just another way, if you don't want to go the command line way, you can always go this way as well. Hello.java. I think I did not change my text type, sorry. I'm just gonna do this with the command line. This becomes a little irritating at times, but that's exactly why I prefer the command line for this sort of stuff, to be honest. Touch hello dot created a Java source file for me, and I'm just gonna edit it here in Notepad++ because I just want to paste that code. So I mean, while of course VS Code is something I can definitely go ahead with, this is kind of quicker for me right now. So that's just what I'm gonna do. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place all of these folders here in another folder called LHD share hello world submission. Now that's just a name I'm creating for myself. I just wanted a separate directory here. And you know, I'm copying these. Okay, 1 second. Try again. Yep. So you know, as soon as this is done, I'm gonna create a slight markdown file here for me. Sorry, I wanted to end up opening bash here. I'm gonna create a markdown here for me, a readme file that is in markdown, and I'm gonna open that once so that you know, I just make a few edits there and just mention that this is my just a little description of what I am adding here, because you know, as soon as you know my readme is there, after this I'm gonna initialize the repository and I'm gonna create a new little, you know, just a new repository for submitting, and then we're gonna go ahead and do that. And a new language. So these are hello world programs in JS, Go, and Java. That's essentially what this is, right? Now, one thing we can definitely do is that I'm gonna initialize Git here. So we now have an empty Git repository initialized. In the meantime, I'm just gonna make my commit, and after that I'm gonna create a repository on GitHub and add the remote there and just push these files there. So let me just commit this code here. This is just my process for the time being. Added hello world programs. So my commit here is created. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back to GitHub and we'll create a new repo for submission, and after that we're gonna submit. So someone's been checking out this repository with the lessons. Nice. So we're just gonna create a new repository. LHD share. Sorry, I don't know. Share hello world. A description. Hello world programs from LHD share 20 one. We're gonna keep this public because considering we're submitting on dev post. How to create a readme? I'll just get to that once again. Even if you don't create a readme there, it's not gonna create a problem. But because we've created a repository, a Git repository essentially locally, we will not select any of these sections because if we do these, it's going to show us conflicts later on. So if you have an existing repository created, do not initialize the repository with these. We straight away go and create it. And we've got this little information here to set it up for us. So I'm going to add this little remote. Conveniently, it shows me the option here. So when I do this, it basically allocates the remote at origin here as this specific repository. After that, I just need to create a branch for pushing, and after that, I just push this specific remote. Now, basically, what this will do is it's gonna push my code here up to this repository. And one thing you might have noticed, so if you notice when we're generally working in already existing repos, we don't always write -u. That's because this is essentially used to denote origin main as the upstream branch where we're pushing. So if I reload this, we've got our programs up here. Now for someone who was asking, with GitHub, the readmes are made as markdown files. So you can just create a readme.md and it's automatically gonna show that as the documentation here. So that's why I created readme.md. That is the file you've got to create for your readme. So you can use the touch command. Touch is generally used to create any individual files, and just make sure that you specify .md at the end. The name is readme, so you can use that to create your readme here. Now, since we've got our repository ready, let's go ahead and let's submit. So if you could just give me a second, I'm just going to remove my screen off. And I'm going to bring on this specific window back. Because we're actually going to be doing something else on the back end as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead. We'll go back to our LHD share link that we had. Because I'm going to send the link of the repo later. We're going to do that. So if you go back to the general LHD share link, we can see that we've got the day one dev post available here for us ready. I'm going to send the link to that here in the chat. I believe you all should have it now. So basically that's the dev post link that we've got to follow. All right. And once that is done, we will end up here on dev post. So that's definitely very exciting. This is definitely cool. And what we got to do now is right now I'm logged in with my personal account. Make sure you log in with your personal account. We join the hackathon. I am working solo here. We're all working solo here, and we were all told by Emirates because they're awesome. Let's just write website here since we use the local active website, right? So as soon as that's done, I'm going to register and we will start a project now. We'll create a project. Now this is specifically for day one. So within this, we're going to write hello world in a new language. I will recommend keeping something sensible like this. And I mean, this is just something if you want to add, you can add. I'll just add LHD share 2021. An elevator pitch here for this would essentially just be, something that we wrote there, like hello world programs. You can always change these details later. That is not a problem. Now, specifically for this, you do not necessarily need to create a demo or a full-on description for the time being, but we'll definitely mention what it does. So now this is exactly why I created this little thing earlier, because I'm just copy pasting over. This makes my work so much easier. And it's formatted in Markdown already. So these are basically hello world programs in JS, Go, and Java. We used Java, we used JavaScript, we used Go. Now this is exactly why we need the GitHub here. We're gonna add it for anyone who wants to check out this project. So we're gonna add it here in the try it out links. And as soon as that is done, we can just move ahead next. Once we go ahead, we go on to the next set. I think I might have gone ahead a little quicker. But essentially, we do not need a video demo link for this right now. That is not an issue. So once this is done, you can just go ahead. In the additional info, make sure you select Hello World in a new language. Save and continue. We, of course, agree to the terms and conditions. And then we submit. So there we have it. Our submission for the day is ready, and I have made a little error. I'm just gonna go edit that. You can actually edit your submissions here at any point of time. Always comfortable. Let me go to the overview here. That's where I made the error, sadly. But you can always go back and make these changes and just do your thing there. So I'm just gonna go back, save and continue. Additional info is the same, of course. And yep, we've already agreed. So the project is submitted. It has made the changes for us. So you can just go ahead and view it here in your submissions, and you can check it out. If you want to just click on view, it's of course there. And if you want to look at this, you can actually go back to your portfolio and it'll be featured here as well. So you can actually find it from your portfolio too. So I hope that was exciting. That seemed like a lot of fun, right? We had a chunk of fun. We tried out some stuff, and definitely I hope it was a great experience for all of you. If you have any queries, please let me know. Right now is the perfect time to do that. In the meantime, I'm just gonna be making a slight edit to my other repository, and I will just as soon as that's done, I will then just share it once again with all of you. So let's start taking the queries. Do we have to put the dev post link on gforms? No, we do not need to send the dev post to the gform. And while some activities have submissions in the Google form, for this specifically, we need to submit on dev post. Now, as far as the GitHub repository goes, you need to create a GitHub repository on your own account. You do not need to create it on a separate account. You create it on your own account and submit that GitHub repo in the dev post submission. So I mean, while mine is available to view, since I've shown it here, that's not the GitHub repo you have to contribute to specifically. If you're talking about the tutorials, I'm just making an update to that and I will bring that up once again. So if you could just give me a second there, that would be absolutely lovely. So I'm actually just adding these examples as well. And I'll just share that with you. When we post a file on DevPods instead of a GitHub link, we'll need to put up a GitHub link. That's how it's been set up. So it doesn't take file submissions for the time being. Thanks for sharing that facts for living. I'm actually just making an edit to that. So as soon as I make a little edit there, I'm just gonna bring it up once again. Because there's another activity that you can actually do as well. All right, so I'm just bringing my screen back up once again. Just give me a second because I'm opening up this repository again. And let me know as soon as you all see it. I think it'll take me a minute or so tops. So yeah, I've actually added a few more Hello World programs here, the ones that I made today. Plus, of course, we have our old C# application from a while ago. But this has all the different tutorials, and what you can do is you can actually fork it. If you have any tutorial that's not stated here, please go ahead, please add it, create a pull request. I will definitely review it and accept it. And we've already got a pull request in there. That's awesome. That's quite quick. So I'm gonna check this out right now on stream. Let's see what we've got a Haskell tutorial. That sounds really cool. I'm just gonna review these changes once, and you know, to be honest, I think this looks cool. But what I wanna do is I just wanna edit this. Just wanted to change the name of the PR there. And what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna review the entire the file once and see, if it's not broken stuff. Because that's a trouble I had, even though as good as um, these seemed, things can get deceptive at times. But from what I see here, it looks great. So oops, very sorry about that. Um, I unfortunately unintentionally ended up closing the tab. So let me bring that back up. But I think it looks great. I am gonna approve this change. That's my review. And we're gonna merge this. So I have confirmed this merge, and we now have a Haskell tutorial in this repository, which is awesome. Thank you so much for that. So you all can go ahead if you have a tutorial that we've gotten. I've just reviewed it and we've got this here. If you've got a tutorial that you might want to share as well, you can always fork the repository, edit it in your own library, or in fact, if you basically edit this directly from a different repository, I mean, if you from your account, it'll automatically fork it for you if you edit it, and then you can create a pull request. But I will request you to keep the pull request title a little meaningful, pertaining to the lesson you add. So yeah, you can just go ahead, you can fork it, and if you like this repository, please star it as well if you like it. If you don't, that's okay. I'm not gonna feel bad about that. But if you do, I'd really appreciate. So I'm just gonna throw this in here once again. And I'm gonna put the banner up here for you all to see as well. So yeah, that's the repository. It's got a chunk of these tutorials, and you can definitely check these out. And whatever you like from this, feel free, go ahead. It's definitely gonna be great. So yeah, I hope that was a good experience for you. Does anyone have any queries? Thanks. Thank you so much. You're awesome. That's exactly what you have to do. You have to create your own repo and you add that to the dev post. You have to do that exactly. So perfectly on point, Nitansh. Thank you so much for doing that. That's exactly what you've got to do, and everyone else as well. I hope you all had fun. And in all honesty, if you liked your experience, please feel free, go ahead and share this Hello World Tutorials link on your Twitters and anywhere. And do spread the buzz about Local Hack Day, because Local Hack Day is definitely one of our flagships. So please do go ahead and do that. I forgot to mention earlier, but taking screenshots and sharing on any social media is always appreciated. So you can do that. Dreamy Moon, no, you have to create a repo of your own. Create your own public repo. Add your Get Hello World programs there, and you add and push those and you add those to your dev post, not to this repository. You have to do that on your own personal. This is just a resource that I've created, um, so that if anyone wants to access a tutorial, it makes it a little easier to do that. My Steam ID. I do have a Steam ID, but I'm not active on Steam anymore. I don't play as much, sadly. But you can just connect with me on Discord. I think my Steam ID might be active there. I hope it is. Um, I'll check once because I'm really I don't play as much anymore. I used to play a lot more at a time, and gaming is definitely amazing. But sadly, I'm just not very active in the space anymore. Chess. I know how to play chess. I don't play chess regularly, if you're asking, but I know how to play chess. Thank you so much. Yes, LinkedIn, you always can. All right. So if you want to learn more about me and connect with me, what you can do is you can just hop over to adityaobrai.live. There, um, it's got all my details. It's got my blogs, all of these, some at least a chunk of these sessions here, and some of the articles I've written are up here as well, including that old C# tutorial from local active build. Plus, any of these, some of these sessions are up here as well, these recordings, and couple of my projects, few of my projects there. And yeah, if you want to contact me, it's got a form, and it's also got all my socials here. So you can find my LinkedIn here directly, and my Twitter. Those are great places. Those are the best places to reach out to. Or I mean, forms, great. This goes directly to my email, so that's a quick option as well. So I'll just throw in this contact link, and I'll send this directly here. So I believe this should be visible to all of you folks. Thank you so much. It was lovely just having all of you interacting as well. And I had a great time, to be honest, and I hope you all did as well. Seems like, yeah, that should have been 23. Yeah. So I hope this was a good experience for all of you. I really had a great time with all of you as well. And yeah, I'll check out the connection request on LinkedIn. Just one request, and if any of you are sending connection requests on LinkedIn, it would be great if you could mention in a personalized message that you found my ID from local hack day share. I'll just connect quicker with you that way. But yeah, I guess we're done for the day otherwise. Thank you so much to all of you for joining in. And I hope you all had a great time. And yes, please stay active throughout local hack day share. Join your guilds, work with them, collaborate, code, learn, build, share, and enjoy with everyone. And yes, happy hacking. So see you all. Bye bye.